Welcome back to Cosmic Peppers. This is the first go with the new style of pod review. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Today's pepper is the Aji Dulce. No-heat habaneros are becoming a thing in the cooking world, and the Aji Dulce might be the oldest of these varieties. This pepper has spread across a large geographic area and has found its way into more than one national cuisine. Aji Dulce is a Chinense species of capsicum that goes by several names. Aji Dulce translates to sweet pepper in Spanish. In Puerto Rico, it can sometimes also be referred to as ajicito or ajís. Both of these words translate to small pepper. In Cuba and the Dominican Republic, the pepper is referred to as ají cachuca, meaning cap-shaped pepper. The Dominican Republic might also refer to it as ají gusto, meaning tasty pepper. I'll take a moment to remind any viewers that ají peppers, despite all of them having the ají name, are not necessarily related to one another, and is a regional term in South America that simply means chili. I learned a lot about this pepper looking at the UMass Center for Agriculture website, worldcrops.org, entry under Aji Dulce, and so far it's been the most comprehensive source of information on the web I've been capable of finding on this particular pepper, and most of the information moving forward in this video has come from their website. Worldcrops.org was started by UMass Extension Professor Frank Mangan. Its purpose from their website is to, quote, provide information on sustainable production and marketing practices for crops popular with the large and growing immigrant populations in the United States. And they have a specific focus on crops that can be grown in the northeastern U.S. The first thing that blew me away when looking over the website is all the multiple variants of Aji Dulce, such as Carnival, Amanecer, Encanto, Pasión, Criollo, and I'm sure that there are others that weren't pictured. As one can see from these pictures, there is much diversity in shape and size across the many variations of Aji Dulce. Aji Dulce originates from the Brazilian Amazon region, which is viewed as the classic home of all Chinense species. From there we can trace Aji Dulce's influence through colonization. I quote from worldcrops.org. Researchers established that native Brazilians brought C. chinense to the Pacific coast, and Spanish colonists brought C. chinense from what is now Peru to Mexico and the Caribbean. C. chinense was selected for high heat in Mexico and English-speaking Caribbean islands, while in Spanish-speaking Caribbean islands, peppers were selected for sweetness. Man, that's just some awesome information when we're looking out across C. chinensis, and we're seeing that there's a few varieties out there that are definitely more of a focus on sweet peppers, and we've got those that are more of a focus on the heat. That's where this divide is coming in, and it's all language, and it all goes back to colonization. I just think that that's pretty incredible. Just like many pepper plants, Aji Dulce is considered an annual in parts of the world that receive freezing temperatures in the winter, but is actually a perennial and will grow all year long in its native habitat. Pictured here is a 5-year-old Aji Dulce plant. UMass did a great experiment that, if nothing else, shows the importance of getting your pepper seeds planted early. I quote, in 1997, several Aji Dulce varieties provided by the University of Puerto Rico at Mayagüez were evaluated at UMass Research Farm in Deerfield. In this project, Aji Dulce seeds started in a greenhouse on April 1st, when they usually start bell pepper seeds in Massachusetts, yielded less than 3,000 pounds an acre of marketable fruit. Aji Dulce seeds started on March 9th as part of the same trial, yielded over 13,000 pounds per acre of marketable fruit. Look at that. The difference between the seeds planted on April 1st and March 9th was over 10,000 pounds per acre. This is incredible. Any of you who are out there thinking about going into commercial peppers, take this information into consideration. The further you can extend those growing seasons out, no matter where you live, the greater results you're going to have in the end. But as we'll learn with the second, there's a second study coming up here in just a second, and when we take a look at that, we'll see that there's some other contributing factors that we can add in there that'll greatly increase the yields off your pepper plants. So let's just jump right into that other study. In 2015, trials were again implemented at the UMass research farm with selections of Aji Dulce from the University of Puerto Rico in Mayagüez. Seeds were started in the greenhouse on March 10th, and yields averaged over 27,000 pounds per acre over 4 types in an open field, and 38,000 pounds per acre in a high tunnel with the same 4 types. That's right. So when they redid this experiment in 2015, looking at the fields, just from the plants that were out in the field, we're more than doubling the amount of pepper production right there. I mean, that's massive. And then when we look at going from the fields into the high tunnel, we're looking at an increase of another more than 30%. So yeah, on average, we're looking at over 30% greater yields from plants grown in a high tunnel, which, by the way, is nothing more than an unheated greenhouse. These differences in yield, they say in the study, are attributed to being able to keep the plants in the high tunnel at a higher temperature when there are cooler temperatures outside. So these temperature differences are sometimes as much as 40 degrees, and this results in dramatic early season plant growth and results in higher and earlier yields on the plant. So to water, these high tunnels are set up on a drip irrigation system, and the plastic cover additionally helps protect the plants from rain and any disease that might kick up, such as blight. So a disease such as blight and some of the other fungal diseases are in your soil. The rain comes down, it splashes up, those spores attach themselves to the leaves of your plant, and from there it continues to spread. There are considerable yield differences, as I've already mentioned, between these two studies. So this is addressed. We're told that this is most likely due to, in 2015, they used black plastic raised beds and drip irrigation. None of these were used in the 1997 study. So, I mean, really take that into consideration. Those two changes right there more than doubled their yields. Black plastic raised beds and drip irrigation. I wouldn't have thought that it would have made that big of a difference, but wow. They got them numbers there. You can't deny it. So the UMass suggests on Aji Dulce for 6-inch spacing on a 6-foot wide bed with 2 rows. A great tip given in the article is that if your Aji Dulce seeds have any heat or pungency to them, that these are not good candidates for Aji Dulce. This should be a sweet pepper with as little heat as possible. So just keep that in mind. If you're really trying to go for a true Aji Dulce, we don't want to be mixing those with hot peppers. We want to be letting them do their own thing. Let them be them sweet peppers and try to push them in that direction with the seeds you save. Different Aji Dulce fruits can have distinct flavors, so you should also take that into consideration and perhaps should select your seed over time to cultivate certain flavors, either those that you or your customers might desire. One thing that doesn't show up very often in pepper articles is how peppers are packaged for wholesale and or prepared for international shipping. Worldcrops.org shows us these pictures here where it shows Aji Dulce being imported into the US and tells us that it typically arrives in 25-pound mesh bags. UMass, when they're selling it, actually uses half-bushel wax boxes to sell their harvest. One of the most common uses of Aji Dulce is as an ingredient in sofrito, which translates into stir-fry or sauté in English, although the worldcrops.org article tells us that sofrito is not quite either one of those things. In Puerto Rico, the recipe is popular enough that one finds the ingredients packaged together. The ingredients are onion, cubanelle peppers, garlic, cilantro, and Aji Dulce. The ingredients are then finely chopped, then used in a stir fry, and that's how they're added to dishes. And by the way, I could be wrong on how that's being used. This is just my interpretation of what I've read up on. If someone else has better information on this, I would love to hear from you. I could probably go watch a couple YouTube videos too, but I'm going to finish wrapping this up. Wikipedia tells us that Aji Dulce is a key ingredient in the Venezuelan national dish Pabellón Criollo. This dish is traditionally a plate of rice, shredded beef in stew, and stewed black beans. It can go by slightly different names, depending on different common additions that you add to the dish, including plantains or fried eggs. So this sounds like a great pepper. Myself and coworker Nate tried one together after hours at the Short Mountain Distillery in Cannon County, Tennessee. This pepper was grown by Spring Meadow Farm in Christiana, Tennessee. Thank you to Frank Mangan et al., who wrote up the information and provided the pictures on worldcrops.org website. Be sure to check them out. Links to all of my sources in the description below. Let's take a look at this pepper review. Let's take a look at some of this pepper stats. Once again, this is the Aji Dulce. This is a Chinense pepper. The pods are typically 1 inch wide and 2 inch in length. The plant grows to a height of 4 feet, and the heat on this is typically anywhere from 0 to 1,000 Scoville heat units. Now, let's get to that pod review. Aji Dulce. This is me and Nate. We're going to knock this one out here today. We both got one. Shouldn't be too hot, should be sweet, but we're going to see what happens. This came from the farmer's market. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
There's the inside. Oh. Not too seedy. This isn't really hot.
No, it tastes like a bell pepper almost.
It's a little bit bitter, but I mean it's sweet too, but it's got a little bit bitter there at the end. It's a little bit fruity, but not much. I mean, like a little bit of an apple taste.
I would pickle this.
It would probably taste better like that. I'm not like blown away or anything by this. I'm not overly.
It's a pepper.
Like, I wasn't expecting it to be hot at all, but I was really hoping for at least a little bit more flavor than this. But it is what it is.
Yeah. I don't regret eating it.
No, definitely not. We got a couple more to do today. We might regret one of those. Maybe not. All right, here we go. Aji Dulce. I'm gonna not eat these seeds because I'm gonna save them.
Thanks.
I'm jumping back in here for 1 second because I do want to say that now I only had the camera off for maybe like 15 seconds, but I do have a tiny bit of warmth in my mouth now. Like very, very, very low on the scale. Like not even like a 1, like maybe a 0.2 out of 1. But there's a little like top of the mouth fruit tingle for sure. And it's got a little bit of an aftertaste too. Like the bitterness that came in at the end of the pepper is definitely lingering. Because of that, if like on a 1 to 5 scale, if I was to put this on flavor, I'd give this pepper like a 1, maybe a 2 if I'm being generous. 2 because it's got the fruity flavors. It's not just total. So I give it a 2. For heat, I give it a 0. What would you think about the flavor on it?
I mean, if I had kids, I'd feed it to them. It's not hot at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Feed this one to your kids. Grow it. Thanks.